we move on to the final fireside chat for today, which will be moderated by Stender, partner at 76 Capital. I've been pumping up the audience for Lucra Sports since the beginning of the day. So you guys have to bring in all that you have. So Chad, you can take over.
Awesome. Well, Zoltan, thank you so much. It's great to be here. It's great to be with everyone. We really appreciate the opportunity. Our friends at Gaming America, it's great to work with you and to get to have these fireside chats. I could not be more excited to have Dylan Robbins, founder, CEO of our 76 Capital portfolio company, Lucra Sports. Dylan, great to see you. Why don't you say hi, give a quick background. I'll do the same, and then we'll hop right into it.
Yeah, Chad, good to see you virtually. Always good to be together, and thanks for having me on. Zoltan and Gaming America is excited to chat today. A lot of exciting things going on to talk about. I'm Dylan. I'm born and raised in New York City. I'm a diehard sports fan, which I'm sure Chad and I will talk about a bit today. I've got some tough allegiances that have been a big part of my life in the sports world for the past 20 something plus years. I went to Duke, studied economics there for my undergrad. And then worked in the hedge fund and investment banking world for a bit in New York City before taking the plunge into entrepreneurship, and have started multiple businesses before Lucra. And now I'm the founder and CEO of Lucra. I'm currently living in New York City, down in Tribeca.
That's awesome, Dylan. Thanks so much. Quick little bit on myself, and then we'll get right into it. Again, it's great to see everyone. Thank you for joining us today. I'm Chad Stender, partner at 76 Capital. We're an early stage venture fund based in the Philadelphia area in Pennsylvania. And for over 20 years, we've always been focused on building companies, investing early, and helping and doing everything we can to support our investments in our portfolio. And really, the last 6 or 7 years, we decided to solely focus on all things sports, gaming, esports, and sports technology. And we've been fortunate. We had 3 exits last year. And we have some of the leading companies and founders across all things sport, gaming, esports, and super excited to spend the time here today with Dylan and to talk about Lucra. And as we're getting into it, Dylan, I think I would love to hear, given the sports focus, what is your favorite team and your favorite sport to play?
Yeah, so both easy questions for me. My favorite team is without doubt the New York Knicks. I've got 2 younger brothers, and the 3 of us combined have been big Knicks fans our entire lives. Growing up in New York with Latrell Sprewell and Allen Houston and Ewing and those guys, like that's a big part of my childhood. And then we had the Carmelo Anthony and like Jeremy Lin days, which is really fun. And now the new days with Jalen Brunson, Nova guy, which we're really excited about. And Julius Randle's going to have a huge year. You heard it here first. So the Knicks are a big part of my life. I'm excited about them. My favorite sport to play is actually darts. A lot of people don't call darts a sport. I do. If you look in Europe, the Professional Darts Corporation is a huge growing thing, and we're trying to make darts bigger here in the U.S. But I love darts. I think it's just a fun activity to do with friends, and you don't need a lot of money or time. It's just grab a couple darts and put a board up, and I think it's a great way to have a good time.
Got it. Well, based in Philadelphia, I'm a big Sixers fan. Most of us are. So looking forward to this upcoming season. Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, should be fun.
We'll see how that plays through.
We got to go to a game.
We will definitely go to a game. So let's talk about getting into gaming and betting. What was your first memory, your first experience around gaming, betting? You don't have to say how old you are, but kind of walk us back through how you got involved.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I was lucky enough to have a dad who would teach me how to play poker with M&Ms when I was a child. We were playing poker in the living room using M&Ms and Skittles when I was a kid with my brothers. And so it's been around me for a long time. And then sports was a big part of my life. And I think it was really when I was kind of in college, just the social interactions around sports and wagering is really what did it for me. It wasn't about the winning or losing money. I was betting $5 or $10 here and there, but it was the doing it with friends and just, having $5 or $10 on the game, being with your buddies, cheering for the same thing, like that group harmony. That was the bug for me, which obviously plays into what we're building at Lucra. So I think that's kind of where it started for me. Really kind of in that. And my first memory is probably like it was Super Bowl in college, being with like 20 or 30 of my buddies, and kind of everyone being on the same, rooting for the same team.
Got it. And as we get into Lucra and your venture here that you started a few years ago, it's not your first startup. It's not your first go at innovation. And you've already been successful on your own building companies. Would love to hear your overall process, how you got into it, taking that initial leap, and then we'll move into Lucra.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, as I mentioned, I was working in finance. I worked at Goldman Sachs for a few years, and then at a hedge fund. And my wife was working in finance at the same time. And we would go to work and we'd come home every day and talk about our days for 5 minutes. And then we were always kind of like looking for new things. We always had that kind of entrepreneurial attitude. We liked idea generating. The two of us together, go out to dinner, like play around with fun ideas, etc. And one day we woke up and said, "Hey, let's do this." And so we decided to do it together. So my first venture was with my wife. We're still married, which is awesome. We made it through that together. That's
probably the most successful part of it, right?
Yeah, seriously. I give like a golf class to anybody who does it with their partner. It's really something. But she's amazing, so I'm a lucky guy. But we started a wine business together, a wine e-commerce platform focused around wine experiences and e-commerce there. So it was a great experience. I learned a ton. No training, just kind of jumping right in. And I think that's kind of what entrepreneurship is. It's a lot of grit. It's a lot of hustle. And even though we didn't have much industry experience, we were willing to work hard. And so we learned a lot. And the company's done really well. My wife's the CEO today. And so that was kind of my first foray into venture capital and entrepreneurship.
All right, congrats. That's really awesome, Dylan. What I guess for the audience, what made you take a leap of faith, or what was like a great learning experience you could share of just kind of, I'm sure a lot of your peers were getting jobs and doing awesome things, and you kind of you're probably the minority as far as starting something on your own.
Yeah, I would say maybe it was really two things. One is I wanted to be my own boss. I wanted to have responsibility in decision making. I worked at two really large organizations. Goldman was 30,000 people, and the hedge fund I worked at was 1,000 people. So I was one of many, and I wanted to feel like the decisions I was making were having impact. And I took it to the other extreme, right? When you're a team of two, every decision you make at the beginning has a lot of impact. So I think that was the first piece, is just having responsibility that it felt like it mattered. And number two is I didn't want work to feel like work. I'd always heard that expression that, if you love what you do, you'll never work a day in your life, right? And I'm like, that's BS. But in reality, it's actually true. When you get into something that you're passionate about, and wine is a big passion of my wife and I, it didn't feel like work. We were working harder and longer hours than I'd ever worked before, but we were doing it together, and it was enjoyable because it was ours, right? And so I think that was kind of the big realization for me that's continued today with Lucra is, if you love it, it's not going to feel like a day job.
Cool. So let's get into it, and using that word passion that you keep talking about. I know you've always been passionate about sports, unfortunately the Knicks, but gaming. So what made you decide you already had a business that was successful, you were making money, and then you decided, I'm going to do another one. Like, talk us through that.
Yeah, I think, and something we've talked about before, it was really the repeal of PASPA in 2018. I think that, Lucra was an idea that I had first. I wanted to do something like Lucra, AKA a social experience for wagering forever, since I started doing it, since I started betting. And it just wasn't there, in any way legally in the early 2010s, right? And I think with the repeal of PASPA was just like a aha moment of, the world is heading in the right direction. We didn't know where the world was going to go. We still don't really know where it's going to go, but we knew it was heading in the direction that we wanted it to go in. And that was kind of the moment that, my wife and I had a sit down conversation. It's like, hey, this is a great opportunity, and I'm really passionate about sports. And while I love what we're doing here, this is just such a unique moment in history. I think we're going to look back at this 30 years from now being like, this decade was just like when everything changed. And so I'm psyched to just be a part of it. So it was like early after PASPA. We started Lucra maybe 6 months after, if not sooner, just because it was a timing thing.
Definitely. So let's move into it. What is Lucra? Where's the platform at today? Where do you see it going? And then kind of the ideation of Lucra Sports.
Yeah, absolutely. So Lucra is a peer-to-peer platform where fans can challenge their friends for real money. So no bookies, no casinos, no middleman. This is Dylan versus Chad, $10 on the line, with all the fun social interaction, gamification, leaderboards, smack talk, all that type of stuff that we think casual fans are really excited about. And we've taken a lot of different approaches to solve this problem. So kind of taking a step back, the three things we're trying to solve are: one, a social experience for fans; number two is an approachable experience for fans; and number three is a wide expanding legal version of wagering for fans. Sports betting is not legal in every state. And that's changing. I know we're in like 35 or 36 states now, which is so exciting. But just creating a really interesting way for people to play in as many states as we possibly can. And so what we did is we started with a peer-to-peer sports contest model. This is our player proposition. So Dylan versus Chad in who's going to have more points, LeBron or Durant, or who's going to have more touchdowns, Brady or Rodgers, or who's going to have more birdies, Tiger or Phil. And what's cool about that is a few things. One is it's single player. So no more complicated rosters. It's a little bit more easy to do than fantasy. No complex jargon. It's, hey, James Harden's going to have more threes today than Steph Curry. Really easy to understand. And two is it opens up cross-sport functionality. Now that we just have two players, I could say, hey, I think Tiger Woods is going to have more birdies than Tom Brady has touchdowns. So it opens up a lot of cool cross-sport functionality. But that social ethos is really what was driving our core. So that's what we launched in fall of 2021 across the U.S. In many of the key exciting markets like California and Georgia and Florida, et cetera. And we've done a great job of working with our customers to really learn what they want and gotten great feedback on our product, and tons of users across the country. And to your point of where we're going is we want to continue to expand our product to not just encompass only sports. And that's I think what's really exciting about where Lucra is going. And maybe I'll pause there because I'm sure you have some other questions about that.
Well, let's do this. I want to do it now. I want to do it at the end. How does everyone listening, watching here, how do they access Lucra?
Absolutely. So you can access Lucra on the App Store. So go to the App Store and just download Lucra. When you type in Lucra, with the top one there, you'll see Lucra Challenge Your Friends. You can also go to our website, www.lucrasports.com, or follow us on Instagram at lucrasports. So it's downloaded now. We're in 45 states across the U.S. With a variety of our different verticals. And so we're hopefully in a place where you are. So please download and check it out. And I'm on there. I'm user D-Rob. So you can friend me, challenge me. I'll give it my all. So don't hesitate to reach out.
That's great. And I'm Stender. So feel free.
Stender. Chad, trust me, Chad has not been worried about challenging me. You take my money on a
And as you talk about building a company and seeing an opportunity, we all know it takes a team, it takes investors. Talk to us about your core team that you have when you got going today, and you have some pretty incredible investors taking us aside, right? Right. Just talk about building this company.
Absolutely. So I think when I think about startups, and one thing I say a lot to our team is it's 10% idea and 90% execution. That's how I feel startups are, and I think that what makes that execution, that 90% work, is the people you have around you, right? So it's the team you have, and then the people who have more experience, like yourself, the investors that we have who have done this many times before. So I think our team's our greatest strength. We're a strong team of people across many different demographics, geographies, experiences. My two partners, Mike Madding, who's also from Goldman Sachs, and Ed Syke, who is from Microsoft and Deutsche Bank, have built a team of just really incredible people, both with sports expertise and not. I think it's important to have a broad set of interest levels here, because we're not just targeting the avid sports fan, we're just targeting all fans, right? And so our team has been an incredible asset to us, and it's just a great attitude that we have at our company. And then our investor base, we were really particular. I think that because we're in such a niche industry, we wanted to pick people who understood our space, be involved, get the right backers who have done this before, and we're going to be really value-added capital. So we have folks like 76, who, as you mentioned, focus on our industry, Raptor Group and Jim Pelota and Anthony DeSanti and their group, who've been doing this for decades. We added Victress Capital in our most recent round. They're consumer-based investors and they're experts there. And then we filled out the round with a phenomenal group of team owners and athletes. That's really our world. Folks like Mark Lazary, Dennis Wong, and Zach and Julie Ertz and Emmanuel Sanders, et cetera, John Isner. So it's just been a great group of people who have actually been been helpful. And I think I've heard a lot of horror stories. I went to Stanford Business School, and you read a lot of cases about, venture capital is a scary place. And we haven't had that experience. I mean, we just really felt like our investors are partners. They're in it with us in the trenches. And I think that's been a big value for us.
Right. And I think, we have founders and entrepreneurs that are listening and watching here. You were able to get team owners, athletes involved, and strategic at that, not just kind of a face on a name on a cap table or a face on a deck. How did you go about that? Right. Because you're not probably not just going to someone's handle and saying, will you invest in my company?
Yeah.
Following them on Instagram. I feel like there's a lot more to it. So how did you pull this off?
100%. It's all effort. I mean, I'll be candid. We spoke to hundreds of people, right? It's like, and most of the people in our cap table were when we got no's from somebody else, but they said, okay, this isn't for us, but you got to meet these people, right? And, you get introduced by just getting the word out about your company, spreading the word about what you're trying to build, the solution and the problem, and just have those conversations and just not be afraid to hear no, especially in an industry like ours, where a lot of people have ran away from it for decades and now are slowly starting to turn the corner. I would say of our cap table, over half were not our own intros. Some people have connections that we've had from our past lives, but a lot of it was just talking to great people who, it's a venture community is small. People know you guys for what you do, and we were able to connect in that type of way. So I think it's really just kind of putting the pedals to the metal and not being afraid to hear no. I think that's a big common issue for founders. Is it's like, okay, I want to pick the top 20 because these are the ones I'm going to have the best chance with. It's like, well, those are the ones you actually want to speak to last, because you want to get your pitch right. You want to get a bunch of no's at the beginning, really hone your story, and then go to your target investors when you really feel like you've got it ready to go. So that's kind of was our approach. And now we've been lucky enough to build a great community. And we try to, help other founders in that way. I'm always making introductions to you guys of people that we know, and because it's a full circle.
Yeah, and it's truly appreciated. I think that's what makes this ecosystem work really well is when everyone's collaborating. And that's awesome to see. I think moving kind of back to Lucra, the product side, and you were starting to get into, you're talking about Tiger versus Brady, birdies versus touchdowns. But that's part of it. That's where the platform's at today. And obviously but where's this also additionally going? Because I think it's super compelling about what's next.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, this has been, I think, and I can remember our first investor deck slide when we talked about like the roadmap and the vision. And we've always talked about one day wanting to build something that wasn't just for sports fans, because there are a couple 100 million people in the US that make casual wagers, cornhole, beer pong, darts, I bet you I can throw this piece of paper in the trash can. I mean, it's happening in every office, in every, college campus, in every family. It's happening, right? And so it's always been part of our vision. And so excited to announce, actually launching this week, is our recreational games product. So now you're not only going to be able to challenge your friends and wager on the sports you watch, but you can also challenge your friends to the games you play. So we have 6 categories, including bar games and board games and video games and recreational sports and fitness. Going to use this to get healthy. So we'll have to challenge our, the step challenge or a push-up challenge, so on and so forth. But now you can really have that fun interaction with friends on off sports product. And the great thing about it is this is an addition, not a new product. This is Lucra, the social ecosystem to wager with friends. We now have both our sports product and our recreational game. So I think it's just really enhancing to our total, demographic that we can target. It's really a great customer acquisition tool for us for kind of new fans where, sports and sports betting and wagering just feels like a little bit too much to start. I'll just give you a quick anecdote. Having started this company, I've asked a lot of people, do you bet? It's one of the things I do. I'm at a dinner party. I'm asking people, right? And a lot of times you hear no, and I'll say why. And it's one of the biggest reasons you hear, like over 50%, I just don't know that much about it, right? They're like, the other people out there that are playing DraftKings, fantasy sports, they know more than me, which is probably true. So then my follow-up question is, well, what are you good at? What do you know about? They may say ping pong, or they may say backgammon, or they may say, Settlers of Catan, the board game. And I'll say, well, would you bet on that? And the answer is almost 100% yes, because people want to wager on things that they feel they're good at. And so we're going to try to create that community for families and for friends and for people that don't even know each other yet. Pickleball is a great example. I was exploded And there's a huge opportunity to build a wagering community around it. And Lucra is building a really innovative product that really hasn't been seen in the market yet today.
Right. So what you're doing is you're really bringing in the social aspect, making it fun, making it inclusive. And the one thing that I personally love, and you and I have spoken about this, but it tracks, it keeps someone's feet to the fire. You always have that friend or someone you know that they're like, oh, I've beaten you, da, da, da. This actually will be tracked, and you can go back and you can look at your plays. And I think that really leads to a different way that people are going to engage here.
100%. I think, what we're trying to go with is that Lucra keeps score, so you know who has bragging rights. No more having to figure out like who's up, who's down, like who's actually good at these things. Like let's have a digital scorekeeper for you to do that alongside escrowing the money. You don't have to chase your friends down on Venmo. Like, we're trying to solve these problems that we know exist because we have them ourselves, and just kind of build that platform for you to digitize these experiences you already love. And so I think you're exactly right. I think it brings in that social ecosystem. I'll give a sneak peek on a feature that we're working on. We're trying to add something we're calling Lucra memories, where so if I'm going to play with you, on first darts and then a sports wager and then cornhole and then golf over the course of our lifespan on Lucra, when I win, I want to be able to take a selfie or some sort of screenshot that I can to memorialize that moment. And then we're going to have these memories that you can share to social and tag your friends of like, hey, look at our memories from this month. I beat you 3 times in golf, and here are these photos of you kind of like, smirking at your friend and such. So we're trying to find fun ways to like bring those communities together and share those memories. Is really what is wagering doing here? It's just amplifying the shared experiences you have with your friends. You're going to have those experiences before. We think adding a little friendly competition makes it more fun.
And I think that piece you talk about escrowing the money and when you say peer-to-peer, I mean, same thing, like you always know about like, it's hard to chase down $20 and why would you, and so on. And you rarely do get paid out. So how does that work? Do you actually get paid out when you beat a friend, or do you actually pay when you're on the other side of it?
Exactly. So for both of we have 2 verticals of our products. For our sports product, it's incredibly simple. We escrow the money and we have all the real-time data, right? So if you and I said Brady versus Rogers touchdown, we put our money up, $10 each. Lucra holds the cash. The game gets played. The stats are updating. The second the game is over, we know the outcome, right? Because we know who had more touchdowns, and the winner is immediately paid. So that's actually really seamless. And then in our recreational games product, it's user generated. So if you and I were going to play a game of pickleball this weekend, we put the $10 up, it would escrow, and Lucra would hold the cash on the platform. And then at the end of the game, we would both enter our results and say, hey, Chad won. We both agree, and it gets paid out. And then if you dispute, Lucra helps manage that dispute process. And so we help kind of remind you, hey, you guys disagreed on the outcome. Please make sure you enter the results in the next 24 hours, et cetera. So we're going to kind of play middleman a bit for your dispute. And we're actually also adding a third-party scorekeeper option. So if you and I are playing together and you wanted to put big money on the line, and Wayne, your partner was going to be the tiebreaker. So he could basically say, hey, if there's a dispute, I'm going to help settle the dispute. But we've seen a lot of data, and there's actually been a lot of data in the market around these types of interactions. And more than 99% of them get approved because you're playing these with friends. You're not posting a game of pickleball on the public feed. It's you and I going together, and we can handle that interaction, in real life. Got it.
Awesome. So much fun. Love it. Definitely think that's where it's headed. And that kind of leads me to a little bit of the macro. We talk about, and you mentioned, PASPA was appealed and overturned a little over 4 years ago. And all of a sudden we're at 36 states that are regulated: DC, Puerto Rico, Canada, Massachusetts being the latest. And I think that's going to be by far one of the biggest states with the fandom there. And while Philadelphia we have a bigger and better fan base, I think Massachusetts is pretty strong.
Yeah.
How are you thinking about this? Like, as you've moved into the space, like you said, kind of right at the jump. But a lot of people think that this is a mature space. And we at 76 Capital feel like we're just getting going. Sports analogy, we're in the first or second inning here. What's your take? I mean, because you are in the thick of it.
I couldn't agree more. This is the beginning. If I would choose the second inning, I think that we played the first inning here. Basic regulation has been passed. States are trying to determine how they think about things. But the technology, and this is what's so cool about having you guys as investors, is we're partnering with a lot of your other portfolio companies that are doing sports technology, right? Stuff like Quintar and those kind of really cool ideas out there. And that's what's also really going to change the game is the technology to allow for this stuff is what the next 10 years is going to be about. I think, we've always talked about how, I'm sitting on my couch, I'm watching sports. Why can't I just make my wager on the TV, right? Why do I have to go to an app? I know you've got some cool things in your portfolio company that are looking at that type of stuff as well. So I think that we're really early on in early days. It won't be a straight line, it'll be a bumpy road, and there'll be changes, and both on the regulatory side and in terms of consolidation, I think you'll see that as well. But I still think we're in really early days, and I think that when you look at just the incredible support the proliferation of gambling has received from consumers already, it just shows it's the tip of the iceberg. You have such a small number of fans wagering with how much dollar volume size you're seeing. We just believe that when you get the casual fans going, that's where the game starts to change. And so I think that we're early days, and Lucra's excited to be a big part of kind of innings 2 through 9 here as we just try and make this stuff more approachable for everyone.
Got it. And I know we actually have to almost wind down here. A really big topic recently, and you're seeing more and more press, is about in-play betting, micro betting. When you look at Europe, it's about 70% of the wagers. However, in the States, it's not. It's still, most people are trying to get their bet in before the match, before the game, before the tip-off. They're kind of still thinking about what we would consider traditional bets, money line, over, under. What's your thoughts there? Like, where do you see this going? What do you think the opportunity is?
Yeah, I think live wagering is huge. I think I agree with you that we're going to see a trend up. I mean, 70% is a high number, but I think we're going to see a trend up here in the US as live wagering continues to be a bigger part of handle. I mean, having just from my consumer experience, it's so fun. I mean, betting on each inning or betting on each pitch, you're taking the skill out of it. You're just kind of, making a $5 bet, but it's that exhilarating thrill feel that you get in the game. So I do think it will continue to become more popular. I do think that the counter to that argument is that it is less skill based, and so I think that you'll see you see less of the sharp bettors doing these live wagering bets because you can't take into account all the previous research that you could do. So I think it'll be interesting to see as the demographics of wagering grows here in the U.S. Which way that kind of teeters, but. Live wagering is exciting. It enhances, especially when you're at the arena, right? It enhances the moment at the game. And I think it's great. I think there's a lot of exciting new micro betting opportunities out there. And Lucra is obviously going to be playing around with some in-game stuff we already have in-game in our product, but continuing to enhance that experience.
Got it. And as the hour turns over here, again, Dylan, why don't you hit how everyone can interact with Lucra, access Lucra, and then the mic's yours. Any last words as we wrap this?
Absolutely. So just as a reminder, you can download our product at lucrasports.com or on the App Store. Android coming soon, which is exciting. You can challenge your friends to the sports you watch and the games you play. So over 100 different options across the U.S. here. So sign up your favorite friend. You get a referral, $10 free when you sign up a friend. And we've got some great new merchandise as well with our loyalty program. So give it a shout. You can challenge me, D-Rob, as well. But thanks, Gaming America and Zoltan and Chad for having me on. It was a pleasure. It's always fun to talk about, what we're doing and hear about what others are doing in the space. So it's a great thing you put on here. And we're really appreciative. And I'm excited to be back on in the future.
Okay. Thanks so much. Thanks, Zoltan.
Thanks, guys. Yeah, like I told you, everyone who's watching, Lucra Sports is awesome and you must check it out. All right, so this has been it for today. Gaming America's Q3 meetup has come to an end. It was a pleasure to be here for the past 5 hours. So if you're watching the recording of these sessions, make sure to subscribe to our channels, and we'll see you again in November for the Q4 meetup. Take good care. Bye.